Every mark on this book tells a tale. Every day that goes by without ever asking why, you believe in your dreams. Close your eyes and believe in magic as I hold your hand. Close your eyes, believe in magic. 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 Believe in magic.
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining me today on, can you believe it, January the 12th, 2019. Well, it is 2019, I mean. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm your host, Suzi Parrett, coming to you live from London, England on this quite miserable evening. This is International Angels Network, if you didn't already know that. And thank you for joining me. Thank you, because without you, it wouldn't be possible. And without Miss Claudia Ibarra, well, she is a Mrs., it wouldn't be possible either. We have a fun-packed show. Am I being heard? Because something went beeping. So before I continue, I'll have to start again. Hello, beautiful people. Yeah, I will. I will start all over again. Thank you for joining me today on the 12th of January 2019. This miserable day in London, coming to you live as you I don't normally, but I am this evening coming to you live. I'm really looking forward to the show, guys. Thank you to Claudia Barra, and thank you for you for listening, because without either it wouldn't be possible to do my show and enjoy my show. I am, if you don't know, come from Roman ancestry. I am a psychic medium clairvoyant. I am also a angel intuitive, an angel healing therapist. I'm an actual channel, and I also remove unwanted energies and spirit from this plane and help them on their way and bring the divine light in. I don't always talk much actually about what I do, but I thought I would today. And we are a wonderful network who, here on International Angels Network, we like to talk about the weird and wonderful. Explore all sorts of stuff and talk about all sorts of stuff, the fairy realms, unicorns, obviously angels, dragons, and much more. But as a radio network, we love to help spiritual entrepreneurs and get you started on your road to success in your business. Today I do have a guest, guys. I don't always have a guest, but today I do, and I'm very excited. My show is sponsored by the Holistic Light Rejuvenation Centre, a charitable organisation. For more information on the centre or the founder, the CEO, Sandy Sturgeon, please visit our website at www.internationalangelsnetwork.com. And thank you for that, Sandy, for sponsoring my show. Much appreciated, my beautiful lady. And our network, guys, is sponsored by Audible by Amazon. If you would like a free trial, you can go to www.audibletrial.com/International Angels Network. And that kind of helps support the network as well. You can have the book free for a month and you can cancel it anytime after that, guys. So as you're not charged, but there's loads of books to choose from. So there you go. Like I say, I do have a guest today, and as anyone listens to my show goes so quick. I'm going to do our next shows for next week and today, because she's on at 4 p.m. today. I'm not actually sure what she's doing because it wasn't written. But she's on at 4 p.m. Eastern today. And then Tuesday, I don't believe there's a show tomorrow. And on Tuesday, which is January the 15th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, with Angel Navigation with the beautiful Diane Morgan, which is Angel Guidance, I believe she'll be doing. Doesn't matter. Wednesday, January the 16th, 9 p.m. Eastern time as well, is Angel Talk with Sue Broom. And then my show next Saturday, which is 7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, with Angelic and me, is Just Soul Stews, the Parents and Families. I always think that one's quite an interesting topic. Do we actually choose who we come to be when we come to Earth? So if you'd like to join me, that's the same time next week, guys. I feel I feel I have a lot to say when I start my show. That's just the way it is. What I will do, though, as I normally do, beautiful people, is give out our number, because if you would like to speak to me or my guest later on in the show today, so we will be taking questions or whatever you'd like to talk about. So the number is 1516 453 9162. And that's 1516 453 9162. You can also Skype for free or visit our Blog Talk Radio website at blogtalkradio.com/International Angels Network. Click on the live icon button. If you don't see it, refresh the page. And guys, remember to press 1 to get in the queue. But we are actually live on YouTube right now. You can go to YouTube, look up International Angels Network and subscribe to get us live on YouTube, which seems very popular with people that are tuning into the show. So that's something new, us being on YouTube. But obviously we're on so many other platforms. You can re-listen to us, obviously Amazon Audible, I think Stitcher, there's Player FM. Honestly, there's so many that you can catch the show pre-recorded again. So, well, re-recorded again, not pre-recorded, re-recorded again, and podcasts and such like. Right. Would you believe it? Time is already going. So I am going to get on and introduce my lovely guest. I'm going to read her bio first and tell you a little bit about her and what she does, and then I'll bring her into the show. So I'm going to read her bio for you guys. My guest is An Nichols George, a coding interpreter who has been very busy and authored 6 books of her own, and is a collaborator on the international multi-times bestseller in multiple categories, Embraced by the Divine. The emerging woman's gateway to power, passion, and purpose. Her work is founded in the principles of compassion and how to use it to bring joy in all areas of life, so that you can live your passion and manifest it fulfilled with joy and fulfillment. Her work also encompasses the divine flow and interaction of the masculine and feminine principles in life and relationships. Jessie, a host of her own international road show, the Code Connection, for 5 years, had created the Genesis Clearing Statement and is a travelling presenter. Told you she was a busy lady. As a coding interpreter, she helps people understand the flow of their energy in this world and how to bring that into the divine alignment, using that flow in the limited ways throughout every area of their lives. Her work utilizes approximately 39 years of experience teaching and working with clients, blending Eastern and Western. Guys, I do apologize. I need to get my teeth in today. I can't get it out. This is what the moon does to me. I was saying this last week. I can't even say it. Through over 50 years of different modalities. Sorry, Jessie, you'll shoot me. Jessie is a 13th generation spiritual healer. Wow. Energy tuner, life, relationship, spiritual wellness coach, holistic and natural lifestyle advisor. She also is a 13th generation Druid practitioner, honouring and appreciating the harmony of all things. Wow. Hello, Jessie. So sorry I couldn't get those words out today. The moon does that to me. I get all blah, blah. So I do, honestly, I'm terrible for it. And because I'm not from this solar system, I'm not very good with English in general. It's taken me years to perfect it. So please excuse me. I always apologise because sometimes when I look at words, it's not as I would say it or how they're meant to be said. So I just gave up. Sorry. Bless you.
It's
So
absolutely fine. I think. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just want to welcome you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on. I've got Archangel Michael with me here. I'm roasting. His energy is like so full on tonight, which is beautiful because obviously I know that we'll have a great show. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on the show. It's great to be here, and it's great to be interacting with you both. And it's, it's just really a pleasure to have this opportunity to be with you today.
Oh, bless you. And I'm so excited because obviously I want to share with people that are listening what it is you do in full and, give us an insight to, what you do. I mean, I was so interesting that you're a coding interpreter. I'm not sure personally what that is because I don't think I've ever heard of an coding interpreter before. So I was like so excited to want to ask you about how that's incorporated in, how you help others and actually what it is.
And as a coding interpreter, I'm really the only one in the world that does what I do because it blends so many different modalities.
This is what I got. And that's what Spirit said. And that's why I'm like, couldn't wait to ask you because the message I got from Spirit before the show was nobody else does this. And that's what I got. So that's why I was I'm going first to ask what it is and what it is you do. So I will shut up and let you say.
Well, yep. And what I'm able to do with this, what a coding interpreter is or what I do anyways, is I'm blending a lot of different modalities, but not using any of them in the standard or traditional way. So I might use pieces of numerology or I might look at what's happening in the planets, but I don't look at it from an astrological perspective or a numerology perspective. What I'm doing is literally looking at the programs and the patterns that anything and everything in the world run on. So oftentimes what I'm doing is taking, for example, letters and names and numbers and things like that. And each one of those letters and numbers speaks a story to me. And through that process, I'm able to understand the way that energy pattern functions or the way a person functions or the energy that's present in a particular place or at a particular time. So it allows me to tap in, whereas an astrologer looks at, for example, the alignment of the planets, I look at the influences that are interacting at a particular place or time or with a particular person. So then what I do from there is look at interpreting what those interactions are doing. And that allows me to create insights of what's happening in our world and what the currents are and what the flow of the energy is. And as a result of that, I can then work with people to help them understand what's going on in our world or help them to understand what's happening in their personal lives so that they can start to work with that and start to deal with it. Because so many times in our world, we get caught off guard and we're sitting around going, what is going on? It's like all of a sudden everybody's angry or, all of a sudden everybody looks like they're zombies right now and nobody's paying attention. And so as a coding interpreter, I'm able to, say, pinpoint a particular day, and that's what the Code Journey is about, which is the book that I'm putting out. Each year I put a new one out for the year, kind of like a new astrology book would come out every year or a new Farmer's Almanac would come out every year. And so it then has these insights on a day-to-day basis as well as by the months and angelic influences. And it shares what's happening in these different portals throughout the year and on each day. And it lets us know, hey, people are going to be irritated right now during this period, or people are going to be having certain challenges right now. And we know then through that information whether it's personal or it's not personal, or whether we need to let something go, or whether we need to embrace it more.
So would that include like just energies coming to Earth as well? You know, because sometimes I just think the moon really affects me. Like I said earlier, sometimes I really feel that it gets my speech. Other times I feel very drained and just low, you know, under par. Would you suggest that personally that it's something that I'm just going through, or something that's coming to Earth?
Well, there is a combination of things. There's what's happening in a particular moon cycle, for example.
Yeah.
What is happening with that full moon? Because, for example, you can take the full moon in January, and astrologers would say, okay, a full moon under this sign is going to have X amount of influence, and that won't matter what year it's in. But when I look at things from a code perspective, each year that full moon in January is different. Each year it's got a different set of influences that are playing into it. The year's energy is different. And then we also have what's happening for us personally. So you may have a code pattern, for example, that maybe leaves you a little less grounded, which makes it challenging for communications, and it makes it hard sometimes for people to understand you or you to understand them. It's that, you know, intergalactic language barrier in a way.
Yes.
But what it does for you is it allows you to get all these insights, and you're very intuitive, and then you have a lot of energy currents where you're getting a lot of downloads very constantly. So each code pattern kind of has its blessings and its challenges in a way, but when we understand how to work with them, and that's what the book does, is it helps people understand the Code Journey book. It helps them to understand. And this year's book, I actually put some action steps in there for people to work with it on a little deeper level, and shares with us, here's your energy this month. You know, 2019 is going to have some stresses, but it's all about refining this and smoothing this out, and you know, kind of like creating that pearl. There's going to be some stress and tension, but the end result is going to come out really, really wonderful. So we've got two aspects that happen really when we're looking at codes. We have the global aspects, and then we have our personal aspects.
Yeah.
So, yep. And each one is just a little bit different, because just because, say, you're born on a certain day, everybody that's born on that day is not exactly the same as you, because you're all carrying different code influences.
And time? Does time have a bearing? What time you were born?
Time can. I actually don't use time when I'm calculating things for understanding somebody's code pattern. I'm working more, usually I work with their name, their legal birth name. If they've had a name change along the way, then I work with that. I've had a legal name change along the way, so it does influence things. And, of course, it takes time. Some people don't notice a lot of difference when they first change a name, but it depends kind of when they changed their name along the way, if they changed it when they were much younger, or how long they've had that name change. And I'm probably one of the few people that really look at those influences. But what's great in what I do and the work I do is, let's say somebody's adopted. Let's say they're older, they don't have access to birth times. I don't have to have that to look at something for them. So that's really an exciting piece with all of this. And it's a really different perspective. And like I said, it's blending so many different pieces. And it's very unique. I mean, we each we have some common shared patterns, but then we're each our own person, kind of like we have a common shared pattern that we're all human, But then we have all these differences within us of what we look like. Our bodies are different, and our eyes are different, and our hair is different, and we all have that unique makeup as well. So codes kind of work that same way.
So once you've coded somebody, as it were, how can that kind of, obviously you give them an overall sort of view of what's coming to Earth, how that's going to affect them. So on a personal level, can that help them then in every area of their life? Like, if they're looking to be more settled at work or a new relationship, does it help in aspects like that as well? Is it a bit like a reading? Yeah. It's really interesting.
It's kind of a different thing. Right now, I have the two areas that I focus on: the Code Journey book, and then also I have a report that I do that's like a personal year report, which starts on somebody's birthday, goes from their birthday to their birthday. I can also do that for a calendar year, for example, and I'll break it down month by month for them, what their personal influences and interactions are doing. But I can also work with people in a coaching capacity to say, look at professions, look at, if an author is promoting themselves. I worked on Embraced by the Divine. That was, in addition to being a contributing author in that book, which was an international bestseller. I also did the coding work for the book to time the release of the book, to do colors on the web page, to make sure the title was something that was going to bring in favorable energy, to make sure that it was coded to the coordinating author, signs and symbols that people use on their websites, or just even in general life. And it also can really influence, I can look at how their relationships will be, whether something will be favorable, what kind of challenges that might surface in a relationship. I did that. I had a friend that had me do that recently. It's been probably about 1.5 years now. But when he was entering a relationship with somebody internationally, and he said, I just want to make sure I'm not being taken advantage of. And they ended up marrying, by the way. And he and his wife. She's over in the United States now with him. And but everything that came up in the report, and I think this is one of the things I hear over and over again, is people say, you are so spot on in your insights, and it doesn't matter where in the world we are, you're so spot on. And even he goes back and he says, I can see everything in that report coming true. Everything that you shared, I can see it happening and how it's playing out. And so, there's different healing aspects. There's different intuitive things that I've never met the person. All I had was a name to work with. And so I could go in and tell, and he says, actually her family comes from this huge, lineage of healers and spiritual people, and just like you said, and you've never... Yeah. Amazing. So the ability, and I think that's the piece that is so exciting for me, is to be able to tap in. And I want to share an example of how this works, if you don't mind. I'm sorry to cut you off there. But, no. For example, I came to Maine a little over 1 year ago, because this is where the codes led me. And actually, I had gone to Indiana at one point in the States, and I was not really happy there. It was okay, but it wasn't flowing as good as I wanted. And I said, I started looking at the codes again, and I said, really, if I'm going to deal with certain aspects, I'd rather do it in a place where the scenery is really beautiful and enjoy it. And so I came to Maine, and then I came into a particular town in Maine, and I said, I really need to spend a weekend here and immerse in the people a little bit, because this is the town that I'd kind of like to move into long term. And because my code alignment is so favorable with the town, I have yet to leave the town. Oh my gosh. Temporary things. I got ready to leave for my weekend in the town, and the place that I was staying offered me a room to stay in for 3 months at a incredibly inexpensive rate that I couldn't turn down, and they're just incredibly generous people. And then they connected me with somebody else because it was attached to a B&B, and so they had to have the room available to rent to paying guests, full paying guests, I should say. And that connected me with somebody who was absolutely perfect to go into. And my codes were a little bit mixed when I was at the B&B, but they were favorable enough. And then I went into this place, and really nice lady that I rented a room from for a few months, but the codes were not favorable there. And I started watching my health go down, and one of the pieces that was in my codes there was death. And death, yes, it can mean transformation sometimes, but what ended happening while I was there, I had several near misses during commutes that I was making where people almost came over the center of the road and hit me head on. My sister passed away during that time I was there. And then I moved, and I had to find another place because she had renters coming in for the ski season. I ended up moving to a place across the street, which is completely coded to me, just across the street. And where my cell phone wouldn't work in the first place, now my cell phone works. I've had nothing but blessings pouring in since I've been here. I have people just contacting me all out of the place. We've got to have you at events. We've got to do interviews. It's been amazing, but that's the way the codes and how much impact they can have. You can be in something that looks great on paper or with somebody who looks great on paper, but it doesn't mean that it works for you. They can be a nice person, but it doesn't mean that it's a space that's going to help your energy flow. So thank you for letting me share that piece.
Oh, no, it's amazing. That's really, really amazing how just because you weren't in alignment, obviously that affected your life in some ways quite scarily and severely. Just because, you weren't in alignment with your coding.
Yes.
Can I ask you, Jessie? Spirit want me to ask you a question. Can this help with past life problems? They want me to ask you that.
Well, it certainly can, in the sense of if I was to take something, we could pinpoint down probably some cultures or aspects like that where you're still dealing with challenges. More important, I look at what those challenges are in relation to the current point in time than past life, but there may be a repeating pattern there, or if something is coming up as a challenge for you repeatedly in this lifetime, certainly there would be ways to look at, for example, maybe you're favorably coded to France, but you're not favorably coded to Australia or whatever. And so there may have been you may be clearing karma from a past life in Australia, but you may be enjoying some pleasant karma from a past life in France.
Yes. Yep. Spirit just wanted me to ask. Because I felt if I didn't, that was something else that I wanted to share with our listeners that you can do, and what coding somebody can do. I mean, it really is very interesting. What I did want to say,
is literally limitless in what we can look at. I mean, there is nothing that I cannot look at. I can look at everything from coding. I've predicted who is currently our president. And I don't want to really say predicted, but what I did was to look at all of the components of who was running their vice presidential candidates, the dates, the time, the particular presidency it was for. And it doesn't mean that I'm pro or con anybody. It just, I could tell who had the stronger flow of energy for that set of circumstances. Same thing with one of the World Series I looked at a couple of years ago, and a Super Bowl game that I looked at, because I just wanted to see what the information would do when it was still a little bit newer for me to work with at that time. And I just wanted to see what the potentials were and just how accurately it was playing out. And so it literally is limitless what can be explored with this work.
Wow. So is your book released yet? Your coding book, Jessie?
Yes. I usually release it in the fall, a couple of months before the year actually starts. And so it is available. It's available on Amazon.com. It's available on Smashwords for the ebook version, through Kindle as well. And this is not a thin little book. I'm going to warn people, when you are getting this book is 690 pages for 1 year. So it's a hardy book when you get it. And I'm just going to kind of give you an example. I'm going to kind of go in for today's influences right now. And, again, because it runs on these numbers and letters and things like that, whenever January 11th or January 12th hits for somebody, they would be dealing with these influences. So people, for example, in England are going to deal with these influences before America starts dealing with them, which is kind of, I think, why they say the West is behind, because the East hits these times and these dates and things before the United States hits them. So because that's the natural flow of the way time works. But today, for example, it says today's a time for checking out new possibilities in our lives and taking a look if there is anything that we would like to change or adjust in our life or plans. If so, now is the time to do that. It will be important to look at the nature of the places you are in and the company you are keeping, because where power is being abused, obstacles are being created. One way you can know if this is in place is if you are feeling exhausted in that space or around that person. In codes, possibilities are where we remain open to receiving help or assistance. When we rectify the path that we are on in codes, we magnify that energy. So in essence, we are listening to those that have journeyed the same type of path before us and taking heed to the wisdom that they have to share regarding the direction that we want to take. We ask for assistance and guidance where we need it and welcome the help being offered to us by those that believe in us and see our true potential and nature. The codes for today show that this is a time for completing and transforming things. So it is a time for us to be adaptable. It is also a great time for bringing an end to what challenges us and releasing those things that are creating agitation or torment within us. We do this by choosing another direction to take and by freeing ourselves from the domination of others. We remove ourselves from the situations that place people in superior and inferior dynamics. And then I have these little action points. So, for example, today's action points were, I welcome you to look at the direction you are going and to see if it is really taking you where you want to go. I welcome you to see where you can free yourself from agitation and create more freedom to who you are. And I welcome you to pay attention to where power is being abused by yourself or others, and how can you free yourself from these situations. So this process is actually, what it's doing is reprogramming our brain to truth. The codes run on truth is what they do. And so in this influence, it's helping us to tune in and say, wow, what did I experience today, or what have I been experiencing today, or to pay attention as we go through our day and say, hey, I feel this agitation coming up. So I need to be paying attention to that and realize that there's something here I need to release, either internally or this is a space that I need to start letting go of, and I need to step out of it because there's an abuse of power going on in this space. So if I know that, I can work with that. It's when we get caught off guard in life that we run into huge challenges.
That is so true. It's like a warning, isn't it? A warning of if you experience that, you can cope with it. It's like, it's sometimes I think if you don't have a warning, you can think, oh, is it me? Do you know what I mean? And then you start going down that path of, is there something wrong with me, as it were,
Yes. And I think that this is, this is the huge piece, is this book helps people to be proactive in their lives. It helps people to make the changes and say, okay, here's where I need to keep my focus today. Here's what I'm working on today. And it allows us to realize that we don't have to be the victim to our circumstances. So part of how this varies, say, from other astrology books and things that are out there, is that you're also getting those action steps, but it's not sitting there going, well, your day is going to suck and it's going to be awful for you. It's saying, here's what's coming up, and here's how you can deal with it. And here's some options, and here's some possibilities. So if I know I got to stay focused on the possibilities, I can do that. But definitely, it's kind of that piece. And a lot of times, what happens is when we don't know those currents of the day, then we get into these spirals of getting wrapped